Black Death. Imagine waking up in medieval England in the year 1348. The streets are crowded, the smell of smoke and waste hangs heavily in the air, and people live close together in dirty, cramped houses. Life is already difficult. Most people are poor peasants working endless hours just to survive. But something far worse than hunger or war is about to arrive, a disease so deadly that it will change history forever. At first, rumors spread from distant lands. Merchants returning from Europe speak of entire cities dying. Sailors whisper about ships filled with corpses drifting across the sea. People hear terrifying stories of a mysterious illness that kills healthy men and women within days. Few believe it at first. Medieval people had survived wars, famines, and harsh winters before. But this was different. The disease that would later become known as the Black Death began far away in Asia. Historians believe it traveled west along busy trade routes used by merchants carrying silk, spices, gold, and grain. Hidden among the cargo were rats infected with fleas, carrying a deadly bacterium called Yersinia pestis. Nobody at the time understood bacteria or infection. People had no idea that something so tiny could destroy millions of lives. In the summer of 1348, the plague finally reached England. Most historians believe it arrived through the port town of Melcombe Regis, now called Weymouth. Merchant ships docking at the harbor unknowingly brought death with them. Sailors who looked healthy one day became violently sick the next. Soon the disease spread from the ports into villages, towns, monasteries, and major cities. England was completely unprepared. The streets of medieval towns were filthy. Waste was often thrown directly outside homes, animals wandered freely, and rats thrived in crowded neighborhoods. Clean water was rare and disease spread easily even in normal times. Once the plague arrived, it moved with terrifying speed. At first, victims developed flu-like symptoms: fever, headaches, chills, weakness, and dizziness. But then came the horrifying signs that terrified everyone. Large swollen lumps called buboes appeared under the arms, around the neck, or in the groin. These swellings became dark purple or black and caused unbearable pain. Some grew as large as eggs or apples. Many eventually burst open, releasing blood and pus. The suffering did not stop there. Victims began vomiting, coughing blood, and struggling to breathe. Their skin darkened because of internal bleeding beneath the surface. Some became delirious, screaming in confusion before collapsing. Others died quietly in their beds only a few days after showing symptoms. In many cases, a person could feel healthy in the morning and be dead before the week ended. Fear spread across England faster than the disease itself. Entire families died together inside their homes. Villages became silent because there was nobody left alive to work the fields or ring the church bells. In cities, carts moved through the streets collecting bodies. Graveyards quickly became overcrowded, forcing workers to dig enormous mass graves. The worst part was that nobody understood why this was happening. Doctors in medieval England had almost no real medical knowledge. Some believed the disease was caused by poisonous air. Others blamed strange movements of the planets or punishment from God. Physicians wore strong perfumes or carried flowers near their noses to block the bad air. They burned herbs, performed bloodletting, and created bizarre potions, but none of these treatments worked. Religion became even more powerful during the crisis. Churches filled with frightened people begging God for mercy. Priests prayed beside the dying, often catching the disease themselves. Some believed humanity was being punished for its sins and that the world was approaching the end of time. One of the strangest reactions came from groups called the flagellants. These religious travelers moved from town to town, whipping themselves in public. They believed pain and self-punishment would convince God to forgive humanity and stop the plague. Crowds gathered to watch them march through the streets covered in blood, praying loudly for salvation. As the months passed, daily life completely collapsed. Markets closed because merchants were either dead or too frightened to trade. Farms were abandoned when peasants died in huge numbers. Food became scarce in some regions because there were not enough workers left to harvest crops. Schools, workshops, and businesses shut down. Even simple human contact became terrifying. A handshake, a conversation, or standing too close to another person could mean death. People reacted differently to the disaster. Some locked themselves inside their homes and refused to leave for weeks. Wealthy families fled into the countryside, hoping isolation would save them. Others gave up completely and spent their final days drinking,